Hey everyone, welcome to the 30-Day Speaker Summit. We got an amazing guest, Michael Wilson, all the way in New York, who has I want to say a long resume, a successful resume where, he's someone who has gone through different challenges and, on the other side, created an amazing life for him. So I'm super excited to really dig deep into your story, Mike, and your stuttering and, learning how to be able to speak with confidence and create a great life for yourself. So before you kind of say anything, let me introduce you, Mike, and then we'll get right into the podcast, right into the summit. And for everyone watching, this is called the 30-Day Speaker Summit. If this is one of your first interviews, this is a summit where I interview as the host, interview different speakers to share their story and their method and what worked for them to become confident speakers in their own life. So you could take all these skills, all this experience, and not have to make the same mistakes as other people. So you could learn it and apply it and move quicker in life. So that's the whole intention and purpose behind the actual summit. So let me actually introduce Mike Wilson. So Mike Wilson is a person who stutters. He's a husband, father of 4. He's a dentist and an entrepreneur. He has, from what I understand, close to 200 plus employees, which is crazy. He's a passionate stuttering advocate, host of the Stutter with Confidence podcast, and facilitator of a Zoom support group of people who stutter, in which he encourages people to go out and face their fear of speaking. That's always scary. Mike grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and now lives in Syracuse, New York. He is the founder and owner of 5 dental practices in upstate New York, and he enjoys spending time with his family, playing basketball, tennis, hiking, camping, and reading history. So I'm super excited to get to know you more, Mike, and really get you to share your story. And for everyone watching, in this day, on the Stuttering Day, we're going to be talking about radical honesty and why that's so vital for truly, controlling your stutter and allowing you to find your authentic voice. So Mike, welcome to the summit, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm very, much looking forward to this conversation and also seeing all the other conversations that you put together as a part of this thing.
Awesome. So Mike, let's just kind of get into it. One of the first questions that I have for you is, what does radical honesty mean to you? And why is it important for people who stutter to really apply this into their own life?
So radical honesty, the reason I decided to call it that is, I think in many of our, and I never am speaking for every person that stutters in the world, of course, because that's impossible. But with the hundreds, if not north of 1,000 people that stutter that I've spoken to, and my own experience as well, virtually all of us have had a period in our life when we were very much trying to hide the fact that we stutter and trying to hide this aspect of ourselves that we consider shameful and embarrassing and the whole below the iceberg thing. And radical honesty, and I call it radical because I get it. It feels very radical for us to just not give a damn who knows that we stutter, or not give a damn if we stutter, right? And I think a lot of this condition rests on for most of us, the number one predictor of how much we're going to stutter in any given situation is how much we want not to stutter in that situation, right? So most of us, nothing's universal, but most of us, when we're alone, or when we're talking with our pet, or maybe a baby, where we feel like it's a zero judgment zone, nobody's there to judge us, or it's our dog, so we care less if we stutter, and therefore we're much less likely to stutter. But when we're in a situation where we, are concerned about what people might think about us, we really want to, I need to come across as well-spoken or, smart or whatever. What are they going to think if I start stuttering? then our instinct kicks in to try really not to stutter. And so
Mhm.
it's a really a paradoxical thing. It's kind of like sports, though, very much like sports. When an athlete steps on the field and they're really trying not to screw up, right? Like, oh, I hope I don't miss this shot. They pass. Oh, I hope I don't miss. Hope I don't miss. Hope I don't miss. Well, guess what? You're super likely to miss, right? Or just pass to somebody else. Just don't even try, right? That shot in the moment. And but when the athlete gets out of his or her way,
Mm.
it's like, look, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to take the shot. If I miss, I miss. If I make it, great. I'm going to keep doing my thing because I know how to shoot basketball.
Mm.
Right? You're going to make some, going to miss some, whatever. But in other words, playing fearless, being mentally fearless, just, doing what you do, then things work out a lot better. So in terms of radical honesty, that going to the polar opposite end of, oh, I have to hide this. Oh, I have to not stutter. Oh, I have to be perfectly fluent. I have to be perfect, essentially. And like, okay, I stutter. I mean, if the person wants to talk about it, let's talk about it. I'm not hiding anything. This is a part of me. It's an interesting part of my biography rather than some shameful thing that I have to hide from the world. So that idea of just being open and honest and being straight up about it and just not fearing it, like that dovetails into not being afraid of, oh, what's the world going to think? What's this person going to think? What's this job interviewer going to think? What's this girl going to think, if I start stuttering? Because that just adds performance anxiety. And performance anxiety doesn't work out well for an athlete, and it doesn't work out well for a person who stutters.
I love that. I love that. And it's very similar. I mean, like a lot, sports and life are very similar. Like there's always that, like really everything you do, there's that competitive nature, and it's all about, in stuttering, it's all about knowing how to perform under pressure. I think it's the common theme here for a lot of people. It's when I'm by myself, I'm fine. When I'm in the mirror, I'm like, my fluency is much higher. But you put me in front of a manager, you put me in front of a police officer, you put me in front of new friends or new people, that's when it really comes out. And I think that's what you're really getting at is when you're controlling this and you're just being completely honest with yourself and with people, it actually flows better. The words flow better. So my question to you, Michael, is I kind of want to go a little bit back in time. I want to know a younger Michael and who he was and his kind of transition to really, I would like to say you're pretty fluent right now. I don't know how fluent you were when you were younger, but how that transition went to get you to who you are right now. And you're able to build 5 dentist practices. Like that is unbelievable. So give us a quick little overview of that.
Yeah. So I'll do my best to give you the concise version.
Yeah.
So prior to the 6th grade, which is when I was 11, my parents tell me I stuttered, but I don't remember really even noticing it or caring about it. I don't remember it hindering me, really. So I get to the 6th grade, and for the first time, and it revolved around a girl that I liked and another boy liked.
Of course.
And this is 1988, 1987 or so, which was a different time, although I would imagine these sort of things are certainly still happening out there with kids. So we both liked this girl. The other boy that liked her, basically used it as a weapon against me and started making fun of me and my stutter and bringing it, to people's attention, bringing it to my attention, which was the person that mattered most as far as what anybody ever thought about my stutter, was what I thought about it. And so I started, I remember that, and I was like, really? My stutter, my speech is weird. I have this, this stutter. And I started trying not to stutter. And for the first time, I became self-conscious about it. And within a year, I could barely get out a word. And basically, for the next 7 years, through the end of high school, I could barely get out of, Though it really varied around my immediate family, my brother and my parents, it wasn't too bad. But in the world, especially with people my age, but really with adults too, severe. To the point, one quick story, freshman year of high school, was given a speech on Genghis Khan, was supposed to. And after utterly dreading it from the second I heard I was going to have to give the speech, until the day when I gave it, just living in mortal dread. That just dominated my mind, completely dominated my mind for those 6 weeks, whatever it was. And then I get up to give the speech and I say, Genghis Khan was, and in those days I hated the sound of stuttering, or the sound of me stuttering anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't know anybody else that stuttered. And so I said, Genghis Khan was, and I, in those days, chose to silent block rather than that sort of thing, because I didn't like the sound. I'd be like, Genghis Khan was. And so I did that for 2 minutes, just silent struggle. And people had no idea what the hell was going on, I'm sure, because I was the quiet kid. I didn't talk. So they probably had no idea I stuttered. And that was my goal, right? Was to make it so that as close to 0 people knew I stuttered as possible.
Yeah, 100%.
And so after like 2 minutes of that, I sit down in total shame. Luckily, the teacher was nice, and I got a B in the class or something. But so that's an example of how severe it was. So fast forward. In senior year of high school, when neither of my 2 close friends happened to be in my lunch, the only 2 people I was comfortable talking to in the school, neither of them happened to be in my lunch period, rather than just find another table or, be the kid sitting alone over there. Yeah. I chose to bring my lunch into the bathroom stall the entire lunch hour, my entire senior year. So I probably spent 100 and however many school days there were, maybe 140 school day, whatever it was, I spent all those hours hiding in the bathroom stall, literally smelling other, boys' stuff as they came in and used the bathroom in the stall, having my lunch quietly. Again, living in dread somebody was going to find out that I was hiding in the bathroom. So I get to freshman year of college, and that's when everything turned around, not from a stuttering standpoint per se, but from I'm not going to run away from this stuttering thing anymore standpoint. So my whole freshman semester of college at Florida State, Dr. Richard Ham, who ran the speech pathology program at Florida State, introduced no physical techniques at all the whole first semester. He just brought me around campus at Florida State and made me ask strangers questions and look them in the eye and stutter, right? Like I said, I was severe. So if I was going to talk, I was going to stutter. So just go around campus, random people, look them in the eye. And it probably took 1,000 times of me, walking up to somebody, excuse me, Michael, look her in the eye. Michael, look her in the eye, right? Probably 1,000 times of that, maybe 7, 8 sessions or so of me doing this before I could hang in there with confidence and look people in the eye and just finish my sentence, not run away from the word. So I promised myself that, and first of all, I realized, wait a second, people are so much nicer than I thought they were going to be. I thought the whole world was going to laugh me out of every room.
Yeah.
Every single room. I was never going to get respect from other humans if I was stuttering. That's what I believed coming out of high school. And so I had to hide. I couldn't talk. My First Amendment rights, right to free speech, didn't exist for me as far as I was concerned. But then I realized, wait a second. most 99% of people, once they figure out what's going on, will just sit there and listen. They'll even act like I don't stutter. They'll act like they didn't notice anything. And I was like, so that was a lightning bolt moment. And I promised myself, I'm never again going to run away from a word. Never again am I going to not say something just because I'm going to stutter.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I would do that, my respect for myself would drop. I knew that I wussed out, that I ran away in fear from a word or from what other people might think about my stutter. But I realized when I hang in there and I say it anyway with courage, my respect for myself, which is the respect at the end of the day for, once again, what we think about ourselves is nobody's opinion on earth about, Daniel or Mike matters more than what we think about us.
100%.
Right? And so basically, zipped through the next 23 years, still had a pretty severe stutter going on. And, if people want to hear what my stutter was like, before, there's an audio recording with me and my grandfather on my YouTube channel. And as you can see in that conversation with my grandfather, I stuttered a lot, but I would even interrupt him sometimes to ask a question that wanted to add, just stutter away and talk. And so I did that for 23 years. And that's when I decided to go to dental school.
Yeah.
Despite some professors implying that maybe I shouldn't do that.
Really? Wow.
And that's when I started my first practice. That's when I grew it up to 5 locations with the 200 employees, all of the severe stuff. Everybody that ever met me after the age of 18 for more than 30 seconds, even less, knew I stuttered, right? I didn't really talk about it with people because I didn't have anything to say about it, because I didn't know how to control it. But I sure as hell knew that I wasn't going to just shut myself up just because I stuttered, because that for me was an utterly miserable life from age 11 to the age of 18. And we can get into the next stage when you want to, but a few years ago, I found an approach from a physical standpoint and then finished off the last, say, 1% of the psychological work that needed to be done. And that's when the massive change in my control of my speech came. But the more important change for my quality of life had nothing to do with how much I stuttered. It had to do with how much I was running away or not running away. And that's the change that happened, when I was 18.
Wow.
So I violated my attempt to be concise.
No. That was good though. My question to you is, so when did, so you said you stuttered for 23 years of your life, or it was severe, you can say, right?
Well, the first 41 years, but from age 18, right, when I found my confidence to the age of 40, I stuttered another 23 years after finding my confidence.
So I'm just trying to pinpoint the actual turning point. So you went to dentist school when you were what, 28?
I started when I was 24, graduated at 28.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So you graduated at 28. Did you find your confidence in those 4 years?
No, that was when I was 18. That was my freshman year of high school when I learned to look people in the eye, and I decided I was never again going to run away from words. So that's when I found my confidence. And then from age 18 to the age of 41, I still stuttered a lot, but I was confident in my head.
So a big question a lot of people are going to have, because you obviously grew a dentist practice with a stutter. Mm-hmm. And it's not like he's just looking at teeth the whole day. He has employees, right? You're not just like, let me look at your teeth. Okay, I'll see you later. You're running an actual organization. You're training. You're making sure the patients are happy. You're making sure business is coming in. You're making sure. advertising is like, right.
Mhm.
I mean, so how'd you do that, Mike? With a stutter? This is probably blowing people's minds.
Well, this is going to sound just annoyingly simple, but essentially I just said what, if I wanted to say it, if it needed to be said, I said it. And if it took a little bit longer for the word to come out, so be it. So be it. Right. And so essentially, now I'm not going to say that that the stutter wasn't annoying. I'm not going to say that. It was. And as a business owner, and as a dentist, right? Obviously, we are trained in this modern capitalist world, which I think is, in some ways a virtue. It has its downsides, but we are trained to think time is money, right? Time is money.
Yeah, and very true. Very true.
In reality, we're all going to be dead one day. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And so we've only got so much time on this earth, in particular in our prime. So I'm not going to say it didn't annoy me that what could have taken me, 2 seconds to say took me 7 seconds. I'm not going to say that wasn't annoying, or that it didn't suck out some extra energy, right? So time and energy, no doubt. My stuttering, pushing through blocks like that, definitely sucked out some time and energy. But I was more concise then, for example, than I am now, because I couldn't, say this number of words. And in some ways, conciseness is powerful. So I would oftentimes just, all right, how can I say this? How can I say exactly what I want to say in the shortest number of words, right?
That's good.
Never avoid words, though. Never change it. Never run away from a block. So if I want to say, have a great day, but I think I'm going to stutter on great, I'm not going to change it to wonderful just because that's an easier road, right? And so basically, how did I do it? I just did it. I looked up where in upstate New York they really needed more dentists. Where was there a good market for it? Where were we needed? In particular, Medicaid dentists, which is the program in the U.S., the health insurance program for poor folks. And there were lots of folks in upstate New York that were on Medicaid, but very few dentists willing to treat them. So there was a market, there was a need, there was a big need in certain areas of upstate. So I looked it up on a federal website, where were dentists most needed? I, rented a car because I was living in New York City, so I didn't have a car, rented a car, drove upstate. I had emailed in advance, set up an appointment with the county health directors and the head of social services and all that. They were happy to meet me because they needed dentists, set up an appointment. And I actually think, Daniel, people rooted for me in a deeper way from the beginning than they do now. Now, don't get me wrong, I like being in control of my speech. Don't get me wrong for a second. But now people see me as, this guy probably has no problems. He's got practices. He's
Such a lucky guy. He's so lucky.
Right. So lucky. Yeah. And that's human nature, right? We tend to think other people are lucky and we're unlucky, right? A lot of people think like that. The grass is greener, right? But when I was talking look like that, they're like, man, this guy really wants to do this, like it's a challenge for him to speak, but he's saying it anyway. He's here, he's starting this practice, he got his dental degree, he's saying what he has to say. God bless him. Yeah. Right? God bless him. And honestly, I've run the experiment. I've been on that side and I've been on this side. And once again, not saying I wouldn't choose this side. I do choose this side to be in control. Time and energy. I like being able to share. But as far as other people trusting me immediately and rooting for me, then I had this thing that was out there that it was clearly difficult, but I was persevering anyway. And people respect that. And so I really felt like people, you know, I still think people like, you know, that good stuff, but you know, there was an added dimension to it. So, and that's how I chose, most importantly, that's how I chose to think about it. These people must respect me because this stutter, you know, they have to know it's not easy to struggle through saying your name, right? That sort of thing. And, you know, so essentially I just did it. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And just to even tie up the radical honesty, I think you were just being completely you at all times. And I think if everyone who's watching this right now, whether you're 18 years old trying to figure it out, whether you're 35 or 32 trying to figure it out, I mean, you never really figure it out. There's never like a, now I know it all and now I have zero problems. If you think like that, you're wrong. But I think, Mike, I think what you got to was throughout your path, there was two things that I realized. You have an amazing work ethic. Like nothing, I feel like nothing can hold you back. No bullying, no eating lunch in the bathroom stall, no, you know, being laughed at, you know, no feeling bad for yourself. There was this natural like work ethic that I think you had that I think really brought you to that next level. And then number two is what we're really talking about. It was that radical honesty. Once you moved from the quiet kid trying to live in the shadows to this is who I am, I think that's where you start to really hit the next level. Because I feel like when you met the council or whatever you want to call them, you were completely honest with who you were. I feel like with your employees, they can trust you because you're completely honest. They can feel that you're a genuine guy. And I feel like that is what really propelled you. Because guys, for everyone who's watching, okay, 200 employees with a stutter. Okay, that is not an easy thing to do. Like there's so many little cracks you got to be constantly looking at. You know, if you have one bad egg, it ruins all practices. I'm just saying that could go really rotten. So to have that and to really build it, I just want to show everyone like this is possible. Everyone, it's use Mike as an example. When you doubt yourself, use Mike as an example. So yeah, I would love to tie in that radical honesty because I think that was your pattern throughout your whole entire life, which is why you've been able to get into your shoes. Before we kind of wrap up the interview for this one.
Yeah, I mean, so we can definitely achieve big things, and it's so easy though. So life, in a lot of ways, I think life is what we make it. I know that sounds cliche, but when somebody believes in themselves, right? And you know, we were talking sports, and Michael Jordan was an example of this.
Yeah.
So the guy believed that he was going to win every championship, right? That's what he believed. And he wasn't going to not win the championship because of any lack of all-out effort on his part. You know, even to the point in his case, if you've seen the Last Dance documentary.
So good. So good.
But it comes through that, you know, he was
team pushed.
Not always the easiest teammate because he wasn't going to let people get away with, you know, with
showing up late.
Showing up late or not playing with heart or, you know, even having weakness, right? And like he said with Steve Kerr, who he was just riding for months on end. And they asked him about it. And he said, look, I had to know that when we got to the championship, that he was mentally tough enough to handle it. And I had to know it, you know, or else he wasn't going to be there with us, you know. And yes, as a management style, everybody's got their style. And I'm not encouraging everybody to, you know, be a total hard ass with everybody that they work with, certainly. But yes, we can achieve things. And our stutter, so if we're telling ourselves, I can't do this because of my stutter, Well, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Prophecy. Yeah.
So essentially learning to ask that question, why not me? Why can't I achieve it? And, to me, Stephen Hawking is the ultimate example of this. How many people would have quit on the dream to be one of the great physicists of all time as soon as they became completely disabled like he was, right? The only thing he had was his mind, right? He couldn't do basic bathroom activities on his own, right? Much less speak on his own or, brush his own teeth or anything. And yet he became a total legend because he refused to accept that this challenge, this huge challenge he had, was going to stop him. So there's that great quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I think that's what this comes down to. You don't give up on dreams, right? If you don't want to be an entrepreneur, then, don't try to be an entrepreneur. If you don't want to be a public speaker, then don't try to be a public speaker. But don't not do it, something that you feel like you really want to do just because you were born with a stutter.
Beautiful. I love that. That's amazing. And again, remember, like what I've done, Mike, is I've studied successful people my entire life. And, you can't deny that there's patterns and there's trends there. And don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just mimic, model is, what they usually call it, and just kind of follow the same yellow brick road that they did. So this is why we have mentors in our life and coaches and, personal trainers, right? It's because to hold us accountable and to follow the same process. So Mike, thank you so much. We definitely do have to wrap up this interview for right now. For everyone who's watching this, we do a second bonus interview with Mike in the all access pass. So if you haven't upgraded yet, be sure to upgrade. But Mike, is there any last words that you kind of want to give to the audience before we jump into our next interview?
Yeah. So one thing, and it really dovetails in with what you were just saying, is mentors are huge. They're huge. And it's a person that stutters. I think it's very difficult for fluent people who have never dealt with what we have and don't know it from the inside to be a true mentor. And so being around people that stutter, that have climbed that mountain or are in the process of climbing that mountain, and I'm not mainly talking about fluency, although, that's a side effect of, of a lot of this, but, finding a group and, for example, during the pandemic, I've started a support group, like you mentioned at the beginning, and we do everything as a team, right? And we're rowing in the same direction, and the level of support. So being around other people that stutter, preferably those that are not, it's not mainly a cry session. That's okay to share feelings and cry sometimes, but not mainly a cry session where we're all just feeling sorry for ourselves, right? Ideally. I think finding that kind of support network is super powerful and super useful. So, or whatever program it is.
So if they want to join you, Mike, before we kind of end off this interview, where's the best place that they can go for that?
Yeah. So the website is stutteringwithconfidence.org.
Love that.
And the name of the program is Stutter with Confidence. And we do, right now it's quarterly. So once every 3 months, we do a new group of trainees. And, it's all that stuff we were talking about, the facing the fear, non-avoidance, all that. And it's the particular physical approach, which really worked well for me, which I learned from somebody else that stutters.
Nice.
I'm not a speech therapist or anything. And then it's a lifetime of support. So we're all in a WhatsApp group together. We do daily warm-up calls over Skype.
Nice.
So it's really being immersed in support and practice, because this is a lot of replacing the old habits with the new habits, right? Life is about habits.
And we'll be talking about that more in the next interview. So if you haven't upgraded yet, be sure to upgrade. And I love it. I think we're very aligned, Mike. So I'm super excited. Mike, I'm so grateful for you and so grateful for this talk we've had so far. And I'll see you very soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, Mike, take care.